Unity of the Huachucas presents Reverend Rob Wheeler.
Where two or three are gathered.
We're so blessed, you and I, to have so many like minds available to us, to share with us, to bring blessings that we might miss if you weren't here. You need to know that. You need to know how important you are, how unique you are, what a blessing you are to our whole world and to me, and I thank you for that. Sometimes we forget who we are. And for what it's worth, we're in really good company. About a week ago and a few years back, a group having witnessed a horrible circumstance in our life were gathered in fear in a quiet place, a room above. They had lost their teacher. Many thought they lost their way. And suddenly, he's there amongst them and said this: peace, peace. And that is the first instance that we know the truth of the resurrection. It was up to them. The guy just disappeared. What's with that? But the message had to get out. And it began with those 11. It wasn't 12, and I point this out on purpose. One disciple was not in that room that day. It was our brother Thomas. Thomas represents understanding, our intellect. And it's fascinating to me that the very last power I own to get the word is the one I trust the most to get me through my day. My understanding, my intellect gets me through my day, yes? And yet it was the last power to recognize the truth of the risen Christ. Fascinating, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Took our brother Thomas a while. I think Thomas was from Missouri. Show me. Right? He had to see with his eyes, had to have his eyes opened. And as a part of this process, we learn a lot of things that we forget we need to remember. And I share with you, as was shared with me, this day, in this moment, I am here to remind you of what you already know. Just to remind you of what you already know. There's only one God, one power, one presence. God's good, omnipotent. That one power is here in you. That oneness is within you. And we are learning and remembering to express it, press it out. And it was, like I said, the song good, and I can go back and sit down and cover that. The challenge that you and I face, he said, raising his hand high, is that I think many times I have to do this by myself. And I always don't, not always, I very seldom get the result I want when I go that direction. Because I have forgotten in that moment to bring into consciousness. That which I need to express. I just need to bring it up. It's there for me, but I have to ask. And therein lies the rub for me. And I suspect for you, learning to ask. I believe that when I use the phrase, in the name of the living Christ, the name is the authority of the living Christ. As I utter those words, I ask for that presence to be with me. And if I were to suggest to you right here, right now, in this moment, that that presence is alive, right here, right now, we'd all go, oh yeah, we're good. But some of our brethren would go, excuse me, you're all crazy. Well, one of the things that's so important about the work we do is the way Charles Fillmore described what unity is. And I told Rick before I came up that never mind, it's not going to work. My printer isn't working too well, so my notes, which I would ordinarily use, aren't there, and that's not being what I want it to be. Unity is the extension of the educational process initiated by Jesus Christ. Our objective is to prove that Christianity works by our deeds, by our words. That becomes our function, to prove it. And so we have the opportunity to look at things in a new way, to stretch our thinking. Somebody asked me at one point, if you had to describe what it is you do, what would it be? And I had to breathe several times. And here was my answer. I am learning to be a metaphysician. I am learning to look beyond this. I'm learning to hold to the truth that God is all both visible and invisible. One power. There is more than just this. And God love our scientists. They're helping us prove it all the time. Think about this for a moment. Energy, of which we are, cannot be destroyed. It can be transformed. It can transition from one form to another, but it cannot be destroyed. To me, that says that the idea of the resurrection is fact, not supposition, not wishful thinking, fact. And when we read our Bible, we understand that there's a process. It doesn't happen like that, although it could. because it took from the time of the crucifixion to the time of ascension, depending on which story you read in which book, about 40 days. It began with Jesus speaking with Mary, "Don't touch me, for I have not yet ascended to my Father." See, he was in that phase of movement, of change, of transition from one reality to his next reality. Living, breathing, just as you and I do, but at a different frequency, at a different level of understanding. One of my teachers one time said, "You understand, Rob, that if we were to take these 12 powers of man that we use, represented by our 12 disciples, and take any one of them and really study and focus and really understood it to the absolute nth, poof, you'd disappear. Because you wouldn't need this experience. You'd move to the next one. Okay, I'm ready for that, kinda. However, there's always a but there, yeah? However, instead of buts. I gotta share this with you. My grandmother, I get books from her. Starting with Lessons in Truth, by the way. And if you've never read that book, I highly recommend that you get it. It's written by Emily Cady. It is the basis of the Unity movement. She and Charles were buds. And she was a fascinating lady. And in the book, wherever my grandmother found that word but, and it didn't matter what book it was, she put a line through it, a period in front of it, and a capital letter on the next word. Her theory is I'm not going to rest on my butts. I went, well, okay. She was fascinating. See, that's the process, the words that we speak, learning that we begin in mind, idea, thought, and move it forward. And I shared with Rick, I had my lesson all planned out in my head until Friday when I heard from the imagination of Jules Verne to the reality of Artemis II, traveling around the moon and returning home safe. From the imagination, a thought, one thought, held onto, grabbed onto, expanded, strengthened. Movement, one step after the other. I had a friend in Medford who was an engineer for NASA. And he said, thank goodness we didn't tell anybody what we were doing, because everything we did was by guess and by golly. We learned, and I loved his language, we learned more from our failures than we ever did from our successes. But they never quit. They kept taking that next step, that next step, that next step. Bring it home. What's the next step for you? I don't know. Let me suggest something. The next step is to accept who you are, your I am. We know that as our spiritual self, yes? That's the I am. And we're learning to express that as Jesus did, fully and completely. that takes practice. A friend of mine suggested that I should never go to Israel. And I said, why shouldn't I go to Israel? He said, Rob, because the way you work, you'd be out in the desert finding that one 2,050-year-old lizard that our teacher practiced on before he learned how to heal people. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I probably would find him. Process. The words, thought, word, then action. And the words that Jesus used give us a hint about what's really going on around us if we're willing to take hold of it, to pay attention to it, to watch it. And it's why I chose this as what I wanted to talk about today. We accept I am is my spiritual being. Okay. See if I can find it real quick. I'm supposed to. You'd think I'd know it by now. Again I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Father which is in heaven. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them. You see, the I am was already there. To me, that's the proof of the living Christ. He said it. He meant it. His words have power and meaning. Your words have power and meaning. And that's what we're designed to do, is to try and put them to work. I have to watch my time, because I'd be up here a week giving an option, maybe 2. When I was in Medford, one of the things that I practiced was at the top of the hour to stop, to breathe, to pray, to give thanks for the previous hour, and to pray for guidance for the next. It usually took about 6 minutes. And I gave you that number on purpose. 10%. What if you were willing on a regular and consistent basis to put 10% of your effort, your focus on one thing, God the good. Thanks for, help me next. And I discovered that as I practiced that, first of all, my day went like that. And I was extremely productive, got a lot done, a lot accomplished. And it's taken me a long time to really recognize and hold on to the idea that I was doing what Jesus taught me to do. Not I, but the Father through me does the work. A couple of weeks ago, one time he was talking about a circumstance where a circle of friends gathered to pray for healing. Yeah, remember? And it happened, yes? Why? Simple. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I am there. That power is there You harness that power together and move it forward. In my lifetime, I've been blessed many, many times with experiences that prove to me what Charles said, hey, go do this, practice it, show that it actually works, prove it, is that no matter where I am, the I am of me, when I need prayer, guidance, help, I am one thought away from receiving. But I have to ask. When I was 16, I worked at Squaw Valley. And in those days, the ice arena from the Olympics was still there. And at 16, nothing could hurt me. Right? Sure, let's go do that. And I was ice skating very quickly and took a dump right into the wall. Right hip. Ow. To the point where they called an ambulance and took me to the hospital. Doctor took an x-ray. I have to think about this. Looks like there's a crack in your hip. Let's just have you rest overnight, and we'll deal with it in the morning. I went, okay. I said, I need to make one call. Called my grandmother. Robert, you are a beloved child of God. Sleep well, and I'll talk to you in the morning. Next morning, doctor decided he'd take another picture. No crack. No sign of injury. None. Not even a bruise. You see, not I, but through me, accepting it. I had a friend of mine, doctor, said, do you know what an amazing thing this body is? I went, yeah, kind of. He said, let me give you an example. I went, okay, I'm ready. He said, do you know that if you get a paper cut, that cut is starting to heal before your brain says, ow? I went, what? He said, just think about it. Your body begins the healing process before your mind recognizes that you had a problem. But you don't know it because it's automatic. It's built in. It's kind of like breathing. I'm like, come on, you're kidding. He says, no, I'm not. You control that if you wish or not. Either way is okay because it's yours. You get to express. Now, it takes work to heal. The work is not in the healing. The work is getting the heck out of the way. But we've been given tools. We just have to put them to work. That's what's so fascinating about what we do. We have the tools. Put them to work. Okay. What tools do we use? First of all, recognize who we are in the moment. I take a deep breath. You hear it expressed as, I take a cleansing breath, right? You ever ask why we do that? I did. God love our scientists. Do you know that when you're given a thought that is contrary to what you've heard before, that might be in conflict, that you hold your breath? Your body just does. Automatically. Now, doesn't last long, as a rule, although you can hold it until you turn blue if you want, because sometimes ideas show up in our presence and we go, oh, no, not even, right? Well, we need to take control, so what do? We breathe. Now let's power that breath. Power. With every breath you take what Jesus said to his disciples. Receive ye the Holy Spirit. Wow. You mean with every breath I take, I can have that? Yes. Yes, the very air that you breathe. Is one with the whole, the all. Every breath you exhale serves your world, just as breath in is the breath of life. Breath out gives life to my world in a different form and allows me the opportunity to be in the moment. Just be, capital B-E. Not I, but the Father within. Calling upon that presence. It doesn't matter where I am, what time of the day it is. Every now and again I wake up in the middle of the night and just turn around and sit up in my bed. I'm so awake I can't hardly stand it. I just need to breathe and give thanks and say, okay, what do I need to be in this moment? And generally that still small voice was, how about being quiet? I'm okay. So just be still. Okay. Understand I'm with you. Okay. Now lay down and go back to sleep. Yes, sir. All right. Somewhere, somewhen, someone is saying in this moment, right here, right now, I need your help. Allow me to see the truth. Allow me to express the truth in a new and different way. In this moment, right here, right now, I am the channel through which God expresses. And I take that with me and I take it into my community. And if you want to have a great time, just absolute fun and expression, next time you go to the grocery store, every time you pass somebody who's stocking a shelf, stop, gently touch. In case nobody said this to you today, thank you for all your hard work. Smile and walk away. It's so much fun. I suspect that some of the employees at Fry's go, oh, here comes that strange guy again. But it's okay. Because that expression of gratitude, that which I give, comes back to me 100-fold. This day, we are in the midst of a transition. Sometimes hectic, sometimes traumatic. Okay, I know it's okay? How can it be anything else? God, the good, omnipotent, working in and through you this day. You are the blessing to me. And I give thanks for your presence